Are you throwing away your baby idea eggs before they've hatched?
What excuses do you set up to ensure that you don't finish your projects?
I'm too busy.
I'm too old.
Somebody already did this better.
Today on Honestly, Dear Listener, we're talking about giving those babes a chance.
We're two childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo!
So last night, I found myself in a little party in the green room of a very famous artist because of circumstances. I showed them my boobs. Just kidding. That isn't what happened. I don't think we do
Is
that
that all
anymore.
it takes? Is that all it takes to get into green rooms of that stature?
I think that's it. I'm like, check out these fried
Man.
eggs.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like, what the fuck is my life right now? So cool. And then I'm realizing, as I was saying this on the podcast, I can't really tell anyone. Not really. Like, I wanted to tell people because I was like, holy shit, like, this is so amazing. Like, and I'm just like hanging out, not being weird, just being like, I'm also a singer, not like, oh, hello, it's nice to see you. Like, inside, I did that. But I wasn't. On the outside, I was like, I belong here.
Yeah.
I wanted to like tell people that I know like this artist. And I'm like, I can't do that. And not like, I think to be good about not being a little douchebag that never gets invited backstage again. But like, because something I am thinking about recently and realizing is that people aren't happy for you a lot of the time. Like, it's to me, and this feels like when I was a kid too, it's like that's apparently douchey for me to be like, guess what I got to do? But in my mind, I'm like a little kid that's like, I got to go to this place I've never been. And it's like, but it's like you went to Disneyland and the kids around you have never been outside the state. So you're like, this is a dick move for me. Because nobody's going to be like, you're so cool and lucky. They're going to be like, why are you bragging about this? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's completely real, and I don't think it's real for everyone, but I think it's like 90% real. That it's
Oh, this is such a hard one because I feel so split down the middle. Well, maybe not fully down the middle because I'm more on the side of like, okay, maybe let's just like hang back with our accomplishments because you're right. It does feel like there's an element of brag in there, even though that's not the intent. But then there's this tiny part of me that's like, why shouldn't we share our joy? Why shouldn't we share our delight with people? But I understand. I was telling you the story earlier about how I went to an over 40 writers group.
Oh, fuck
yeah.
yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And we were going around the circle introducing ourselves and saying what we write and everything. And I had mentioned like, oh yeah, one of my short stories is getting published in an online literary magazine. And people were like, oh, that's cool. After I said it, I immediately regretted it. Immediately. And I felt all sorts of like sweaty and bad about it. And I was like, why am I feeling bad about this? It just brought up all of these conflicting feelings and just, what is that?
I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, what are the chords of what comes up in your brain that makes you be sweaty?
Yeah, the things that make me sweaty about that are I don't want people to feel bad about where they're at. And trust, I'm not saying I've achieved any kind of, I'm not on the mountaintop looking down at all the lowly writers down there. Like I'm on the side of that mountain trying to learn as much as I can and trying to get up there, and I'm right with the people.
Mhm.
But I don't want to feel I don't want I don't want other people to feel bad about themselves, although I think that that's a fallacy, that saying something that you're doing and that brings you joy has anything to do with other people.
Mm.
And so it points me back to, because that's how you feel when sometimes other people share their joy.
Mm.
It's like that being a good audience member thing, where
Mhm.
it's like, I want to be a good joy celebrator with other people, and I'm not all the
Mm.
time. I want to be a good receiver and celebrator of someone else's joy.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
that's number 1.
Mhm.
Number 2, I don't want anything to get in the way of connection with other people.
Mm.
And I don't want to be like, I'm in a room full of people who are all working, are all trying to maybe get published,
Mhm.
and then I distinguish myself from the pack, and then they go, she's not one of us anymore.
Mm.
It's like being, this is a dumb example, Emily. I'm just warning y'all. This is a dumb example. Like, I've been a lead in a play, in a musical
Mhm.
before, and I've been in the chorus in musicals before.
Mhm.
By far the most fun I've had is being in the chorus,
Mm.
because you're with everyone else and you're
Mm.
making jokes, and it's fun, it's connective,
Mm.
versus being a lead where people are like, "Oh, okay, you're not one of us. You're part of the
Mm.
leads." And so you don't get to have that. It doesn't feel as connecty
Mhm.
as being in the chorus.
That makes sense. So you're afraid when you say stuff that you'll make other people feel bad and that you will
Yeah.
isolate yourself from the community.
Isolate.
I
Isolate is a perfect word for that. I don't want to feel isolated and rejected. Yeah.
I think that's really insightful, um, like deep in the recesses and kind in your brain. I'm like rejection. I don't want people to be mad at me or
Mhm.
think that I have like a complex about people thinking that I think I'm better than them, because
Mm.
that was the rhetoric of like everything growing up and in my like early 20s. Everything I did, I would hear, you think you're so much better than everybody else.
And I can corroborate that, by the way. That's not just Emily being like, I felt that from people about her growing up, which was maddening.
It's thank you for that, because sometimes it's like people are like, you're so sensitive, which I am, but I'm like, no, it was a real thing. And then I
Mhm.
would, like what you said, I was in high school, I would be like cast as leads almost every show.
Mhm.
And people would just be so like, oh, you think you're so great? Well, it's just because the director likes you and is playing favorites, not because you're good or
Ew.
whatever. And I'm like, I wouldn't I'd look at the cast list and not be allowed feel like I wasn't
Mm.
allowed to be excited that I did something cool, and that happened when I was
Right.
doing theater in other places. Um, so I think it's the community of artists. I would love for us to be happier for each other.
Yeah.
Um, because the outlook that I have, it's not like I never get jealous, like, but I just look at it like, if I wish that I was doing what they're doing, then I need to do it. Like,
Then
I
do
need to
it.
go get better at what I'm doing or go find the right community for me and do my own things, because like I have pings of like, why did they get that?
Mhm. I
And
do
then I'm
too.
like, I'm really excited for you, actually. Like, that's fucking great. There's a space for me too. Like, I just need to go find mine so that I
Mhm.
don't resent you for,
Yep.
you know, I, I don't
Yep.
know.
I heard a quote once that said resentment. I think it was Brené Brown in one of her books.
Mm.
Uh, But she was talking about how resentment, even though you think it's about the other person, it's almost always about you.
Mm.
And whether you feel like you're allowed or capable of doing what the other person does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if I'm frustrated at, someone for publishing a book, or not frustrated, but if I feel resentful or I
Mm-hmm.
feel that ping of like, ugh, whatever. Why? It has nothing to do with them. They're just following their joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to support that 100% because their success is my success.
Mm-hmm.
In a way,
Yeah.
we're all forwarding the cause
Mm-hmm.
of making things. So awesome. But it has everything to do with whether I feel like I'm able to write, or if and a lot of times it's like I haven't even given myself the space to be able to write. I'm not even giving myself the time to
Mm-hmm.
be able to write. So it has nothing to do with even talent. It has to do with like, oh, I don't allow myself to do the things that you are doing and that you're successful in.
That is so accurate. It is like, I always was like, when I was younger, like, why don't you do it? Like,
Mhm.
I there's room. Like,
Yep.
maybe not in this production, everybody can't be a lead, but like there's room for everybody in the industry if you want to work hard enough,
Mm.
or again, be in these communities and get out there. But I think that has a lot to do with, what do we talk ourselves out of doing, like you
Mhm.
said, than resenting the people who didn't talk themselves out of it, or who
Exactly.
do talk themselves out of it every fucking day, in my case, and then talk themselves back in, like,
100%. Yes, yes, yes.
so what are we not doing? What are we
Mm.
what I've been talking to other artists and stuff about this lately. Like, what roadblocks are you putting up for yourself to have
Mhm.
to climb over? And then by the time you're ready to climb over all of them, you're too exhausted from setting them up.
Mhm.
What roadblocks are we setting up to say, actually, you're not allowed to do that?
Mhm.
Because I think we could look at least for me, like I could look back and blame people for stopping me from doing stuff, but it really was me that
Mhm.
stopped me.
Yep. Yep.
Like, no one can stop you.
Yeah. Show me someone that has put their 10,000 hours in, that is working on a thing, and it could be anything, working on a thing diligently every day. At some point, you're going to hit a level of mastery with that thing. At some point, it's inevitable,
Mm-hmm.
you know? There's your excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also think that it's scarcity mindset,
Absolutely.
which, we live in such a trembling and afraid world that
Mm-hmm.
there's not going to be enough for us. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's also where that feeling comes from. Like, oh, if Emily is in the spaces that she wants to be in, then that means that there's a less of a likelihood that I will be able to be in the spaces that I want to be in. And that's just simply not true.
And then what? So then you make it so.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Then you
fulfill your own
say,
prophecy.
there's no room for me, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try and get in there.
Right.
Like, I have done that to myself in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to have not in other ways. But like, do you know how many people I like hear doing this to themselves? Just like, well, I can't do that yet. I've got to set this up first, or I'm not good enough at this, so I can't. Like, why aren't you even trying to?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I got to keep my expectations low. Why?
Mm. Yeah.
Because I've been running into this lately for myself. Like, if you fully actually admitted what you wanted to do, it's scary to think that you wouldn't be able to do it. So you just start being like,
Mhm.
well, I didn't even want to do that anyway. And these people are already doing it. So,
Yeah, we kill our own desire to even do the thing, to
mhm.
avoid the disappointment of not doing the thing.
Yeah,
Interesting. But humans are so weird.
we are
Emily,
so
we're
weird.
so weird.
It is. It's so strange. This artist that I got to do the backstage thing with, when I was younger, I used to say, I love to sing songs that are like Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan, like these big, bold vocals. But all the songs that I write come out like, ironically, this person, as though that's bad. And so I'm like, well,
And
my
this
writing,
person has lighter, like, explain this person's vocals in relation to Shaka Khan. And
just, yeah, like a lighter, more carefree, like speaky, quirky kind of thing. But
Mhm.
I'm like, well, why is that bad? And why can't I like put those things together? And here I am 20 years after I said that about this artist, and I'm like watching them sing to this huge group of like all these freaking people, and I'm like, and you won't finish your songs because you could be like this. Okay, yeah. What is wrong with you? Humans are very strange.
That's an interesting. Okay, so going in that direction, it sounds like you, how do I put this? You've judged and killed your babies. Boy, that
There's a sound clip.
yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy, dear listener. Okay, you've judged and killed, slaughtered your art babies as they're coming out or even before they've come out.
Yeah,
Boy,
this is very
it's very graphic.
pro creative life.
Sorry. Sorry, everyone. But essentially, that's what you're saying. Like, oh, I don't want to be like this, even though, like, yes, we're responsible for the things that come out, but are we?
I think so much of it is rooted in just self acceptance
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, well, I'll probably make something bad, so I'm just not even gonna.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going with this really interesting analogy. It's like, I don't want to accidentally almost make something that I think is dumb, so just keep that dick away from me. Just
Totally. Yes.
like,
Yes.
so I'm gonna just sit in here and complain about how I don't have all these things, but I'm gonna be like, keep it away from me because I probably will suck because I
Right.
don't trust myself and what I could make.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
so I'm not gonna do it, or I'm gonna kind of do it, and then I can have this really tortured story, and then that bitch gets to do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, I'm over here not even letting myself try to get impregnated with ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've probably worn that out with the dick thing. Who's the creative dick? Is that
It's the universe. It's the
okay?
universe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. No, totally. Like
The muse.
yep.
Muse dick.
M-
It's like music.
music, but music. Oh my gosh. This is just groundbreaking stuff right
Oh,
here.
you guys are witnessing history being made.
Yes. Oh Lord, so many like quotables here. Okay.
Muse dick.
So oh, we're still in middle school.
Yeah.
This is, if you want to know what it was like being friends with Emily and I in middle school, here it is. Except we a little less dick.
Yeah, we couldn't
More
say
like,
dick.
yeah, more like farting jokes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Emily and I have been on this journey since we started this podcast. So just like seeing what happens when we
Mhm.
open ourselves up to the universe. And we have done The Artist's Way, which is Julia Cameron's amazing 12-week book on creativity and getting unstuck. And she talks about letting the universe give you things and asking for the universe to give you things. So I've been doing that.
Mm.
And I've been getting these weird ass dreams. I'm not sitting there being like, yes, I know exactly what I want it to be and then making it so. No, the universe is like dropping the weirdest shit in my brain at night, and then I wake up and then I make notes really quickly in my phone, go back to sleep, and then the next day I'll like kind of look at it and be like, this is weird. Interesting,
Mm.
but weird. And it's stuff that like I would never have thought I would have ever written about. And if I put on the goggles or the lenses of of somebody a couple years ago before I started this podcast, I'd have been like, no, that's weird.
Mm.
Don't do that." But now I'm kind of like, what if we just went with it? And if it turns out to be nothing once it's already written, great. I'm
Mhm.
fine with that. But I'm just going to follow this road and see where it goes because it's interesting and I'm curious.
Mhm. It's badass. What if you just say yes?
Yeah.
I will try that. Yeah, I want to do that.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I have this constant battle within myself. It's like when I say yes, there's this like screaming thing in me that's like, we can't do that. You should probably get really tired. Lay down now. Why don't you watch that TV
Yes.
show? Hey, you know who you haven't talked to in a long time? All these people. You should probably call them all.
Mhm.
Or we could just say yes and try to move forward with this idea.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yes. Emily, you had me at lay down and watch shows. That's all I've really wanted. I have used that so much to distract myself from making things
Mm.
over and over and over again.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yep. What I do to get around that, because I did it the other day, I was thinking, oh, I could write or I could clean the kitchen. Somehow cleaning the kitchen sounded more appealing because it's safer, you know?
Mhm.
And then I said no. And then I said, just write on it for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes, right?
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, fine. Once I started, I couldn't stop.
Mhm.
So
That's a good.
that's a sneaky way to get around the oh, just do something else
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, I love that. And also, even if you don't end up tricking yourself, 5 minutes is still more minutes than none minutes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Love that. That's a really good perspective because the black and white like binary thinking in me is like 5 minutes is trash.
Mhm.
Either 4 hours or 0 hours.
Yep,
No,
yep,
5 minutes is great.
yep. Something's better than nothing.
That's right.
Yeah, I haven't allowed myself to fully write a song in a long time.
Tell me about that.
Uh, I've been like, "Oh, I have an idea," and then I sit down and I'll, like, flesh it out. Sometimes I even, like, work with someone on it, and we'll do a verse and chorus. And then that's all. I'm catching myself with that. It's like, Emily, why aren't you allowing yourself to just finish a song?
Mm.
Now, I don't want anyone to steal this idea, okay, listeners, but right before we started recording today, I had an idea to write a song called The Fart in the Corner, which is
Yes.
how I feel a lot of the time. I think I need to write that song.
Okay, tell what is the fart in the corner? Because I feel like a lot of us feel this way.
uh, okay, so last night at that show, I was like, I got my new hair's cut, and
Mhm.
I bought a couple new dresses because I think I have money. It's fine. I don't. But I was like, this is my bad bitch era.
Yes.
I'm just gonna walk in my weird thing I'm doing. And so I wore my shit last night and was mistaken for an Australian pop star and someone that the artist themselves knew. Anyway, so I look famous. I felt good. Um, and I met this dude who is a producer, and I was like, I feel cute. Like meeting this dude who's like my age and handsome. I was like, I feel like, yeah, you probably think I'm cute, which is a really nice feeling.
Yeah, it is.
instead of feeling like the fart in the corner, which is just like, hey, sorry about my face and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm the thing you walk by and go, what was that? That's the fart in the corner, you know?
Please write a song about this because I have felt like the fart in the corner, like, so many times. And I actively avoid being that person, but, like, aren't we all kind of at one point in our life or another, like, feel like that person that's, like, just not in the center of things?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that you felt like that too.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I think the stories we tell ourselves about being old or being a weight you don't want to be or being whatever. And that's another hurdle that we're setting up for ourselves to not like walk in who we are and what we make. Um,
absolutely.
Aging is a big part of that. I think identity from religious trauma is a huge part of that. Uh, but I just want to materialize into a full grown fart with lipstick instead of just the one in the corner. No, that's a fart with lipstick. I don't know. This is devolving, I should say.
How do you put lipstick on a fart?
It's like lipstick on a pig, but way, way better.
Wow.
I actually have said before that I feel often like if an armpit fart were a person, that's how I feel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Isn't that good?
We're so nice to ourselves.
This is what I'm saying, you guys. Like, yet, and we've talked about this before, yet, in my materialized fartness, I can still make people feel like I think I'm better than everyone. What the hell?
Yeah, it's this weird paradox that you believe in.
It's weird.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's not my responsibility. And
It's not.
it's not your responsibility either. You can say good things, but just know people probably aren't going to be happy for you.
Yeah.
So one thing I have been thinking about with this topic is, well, don't kill your creative babies, obviously, like what we've been
Mhm.
talking about. But I'm going to have to learn to be really happy for myself.
Ooh.
Because the more successful you get, what I've noticed is the more isolated you become
Yep.
because people separate themselves from you. Like if you watch, and we've talked about this before, if you watch like documentaries, Lady Gaga, Lizzo, Selena Gomez, there are like 3 people around them and
Mhm.
then they're alone all the time. So like oddly, the more successful you get, the more isolated you become. You're going to have to, if you kick ass at what you do, you're going to have to learn to be proud and excited for yourself about shit you're not allowed to be like, guess what? I'm famous now. Like people aren't happy for you.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's like the whole audience thing, like being a good audience member. If you want people to be a good audience member for you when you're up there,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to start doing the work of also being a good audience member for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want people to be happy for me in my successes and in my joys, then I sure as hell better work on sincerely celebrating their successes with them
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's all interrelated.
Yep. Celebrating theirs, celebrating yours.
Mhm. That's right.
This sounds like a combination of some previous episodes we've had
Mhm.
about celebrating your creativity and accomplishments, about being a good audience member,
Mhm.
and about bragging.
Totally. I will put those in the show notes so that you, dear listener, can go down a nice jaunt down the road of memory lane walking on
The
it.
brag town streets
Yes.
of yore.
Yes, that's right. Question for you.
Yes.
There is there is a difference though between being joyful about your successes and the things that you've made versus things you haven't done. For instance, somebody bragging about having a big, huge mansion
Mhm.
to a bunch of people versus somebody being joyful about a book that they've written. I mean, is there a difference?
This is a complicated thing to me. If you're very insecure and you only have like, this is the thing, I have to talk about it so that I feel better about myself. I think you
Mm.
got to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Ooh, yeah.
Not being like, I have a giant house. What do you have? Like, where is this coming from? Is it from an insecure place or is it from a joyful place? Now,
Mm.
look, I've been poor a lot of my life. If I got to a place where I could buy a huge house, I'd be like, "Oh my god, isn't this cool? I finally get to do like have this thing cuz I worked hard for it." And nobody's going to be happy for me. And that's okay.
Mm.
But where's that coming from? Am I going to continue? Am I going to lord this over people and mention, "By the way, I have this." Like I was at a bar this last week and this man came in and was like, he was literally talking like this.
Oh.
And I was with my dad and the guy was like, "Well, yes, because when I was on the stage, I once played Jekyll and Hyde and I literally like within 45 seconds of this man sitting down, he was like, "I'm an actor." And I'm like, "I had no idea." um where is that coming from?
Yeah.
I feel my judgment is insecurity.
Mhm.
Like, I'm someone, just so you know.
Mm.
Where is that coming from? Probably that. Should he not do that in air quotes? I don't know. But
Yeah.
maybe if you don't want to be that guy, ask yourself that question like, if I'm telling people this, where is this coming from for me?
Mhm.
Which is why I'm saying I think we have to work on being happy for ourselves and our accomplishments. And it doesn't mean you can't talk about it, but
Mhm.
maybe like guard who you share it with because not
Right.
everyone is going to be happy for you. And you might also just be like, I'm insecure. Tell me I'm great.
So what you're saying is that the reasons why we do and say things matter.
I mean, I think so.
You can have two people that are saying the same thing, but maybe one has the intention of celebrating and joy, and the other one has the intention of trying to prove that there's someone and is saying it from a place of insecurity. And I think people aren't stupid. They
Mm-hmm.
smell that.
Mm-hmm.
They can they know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that's what you're saying.
I mean, I guess so. That's really it. It's like check yourself on your intention.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, the other thing is though, does it matter that some lady at this bar thought he was insecure?
Not really.
No. So, like, I don't know.
Oh, being a human is so
It
complex.
really is.
It's just a lot, like balancing this with this and that and like and I think you're right. Like who cares what you thought about him?
Truly. I mean, truly. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, if you start seeing that a lot of people don't want to be around you, you might take a look and be
Right.
like, am I coming across as douchey? Because at the same time, if I say, "Oh, I was at the green room for this thing," somebody might be like, "Oh, she's so insecure that she thinks she has to tell people that."
Mm.
And they're right to them, and that's fine. I don't it doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it's just like internally learning to be proud of ourselves and not kill our ideas
Mm.
because you're afraid some guy at a bar is going to think that you're dumb. I don't know.
Yeah. It's one thing to worry about a guy at a bar that you don't know. It's another thing to worry about what is my family going to think about this? What are
Mm,
my friends going to think about this? That's really the even though I do still worry about the guy at the bar.
mhm.
It's like a survival thing that's built in. It's annoying that we haven't evolved out of.
Yep.
worrying about those things. But I feel like, kind of like what Julia Cameron says in The Artist's Way, I'm not here to judge what comes out. I'm the conduit. The
Mhm.
universe is working through me. What I am responsible for is showing up for the
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
And that's really, as long as I am faithful to what I said that I would do, which is I'm going to show up and I'm going to take whatever the universe is giving me and I'm going to put that out on the page.
Mhm.
Whatever that is, I don't know. Then that's kind of all my business is.
Yeah.
And everyone else, whether they like it or not, or whether it's good or bad, is kind of, that's their business. It's kind of not mine,
Mhm.
which is why I intend to not read reviews about myself. I don't know
Mhm.
how I'm going to hold myself back, but yeah.
I like Elizabeth Gilbert's thing about, like, she has a
Yeah.
couple people that she'll be like, "Tell me if I can read that or not," basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's not her quote. I just saw her saying it on Instagram. I forget who said it, but it is like we are entitled to our labor, not the fruits of our labor.
Mm.
Which I hate.
Why do you hate it?
Cuz I'm like, I want the good things. Can I be like, "Yay!" I think I the intention there I think is like good or bad. You just have to keep doing stuff whether people like it or not. Uh and don't get lost in like good attaboys for yourself or criticism either, right? And
Right.
I get that, but I do think that we're still human beings who need to feel like we're contributing and doing something good.
Yeah.
So building that inside ourselves is really the most important. Be your own fruits.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the sentiment there seems to me to be like, so you made something that's very cool. Yay, let's celebrate it. Awesome. Let's have the book party. Everything goes back to books for me.
Mm.
Let's have the book party. Let's celebrate. Yes. But don't rest there. Don't be like, well, this is where I'm pitching my tent and I'm not going anywhere anymore.
Mm.
I don't know why the tent, but or the accent.
Pitch a tent.
Pit, pet, pitch a tent and just rest there. No, we have to keep going, because the accolades are not the end all be all of why we do a thing. The reward is also in the creating and the struggling,
The work.
the work.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. I would also like to say that I managed to make it all the way through us talking about that without talking about pitching a tent more than just repeating it.
I knew you were thinking that. I
Well,
knew it. I was like, oh, the restraint, her restraint.
Thank you
Yep.
for acknowledging my
Yes.
accomplishment.
Yes. And when everything's said and done, dear listener, we are still in middle school. Sorry.
But we're allowed to say it now.
Right. See, we couldn't joke about peni or pitching tents or any of that back in the day. So we're joking about it now in our 40s because we didn't have parts of our childhood that were stolen from us. Thank you, evangelical fundamentalist Christianity.
Yeah.
Woo.
Arrested Development. It's not just a TV show.
Yep. Absolutely.
So muse dicks and farts in the corner.
That's right. Yep. And we're proud of it.
Yeah.
All right, dear listener. Thanks for hanging in there with us.
Now go somewhere. Don't pitch your tents. Don't kill your creative babies. Get that muse dick.
Honestly, dear listener.